Meet Isha. Isha wants to move abroad, but she's stuck at 6.5 in IELTS Writing Task 2, and we're going to help her today improve to a band 8 or maybe even 9. So I'm going to transform her writing. And the good news is I'm going to do it step by step, and you guys can participate too. This is a fully interactive lesson, and you'll be able to participate by choosing the correct direction we bring Isha and her essay, and you will be able to improve your essay writing skills at the same time. So let's get started. Here is the question. I just want you first to read it and have a little think about it. And you guys at home, do the same. Just 10 seconds, have a think about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you 3 different possibilities for the ideas, and you guys at home can read the possibilities. There's 1 correct answer and 2 wrong answers. Let's look at the first one here. Always keep in mind the question. It is irresponsible of parents to allow toddlers to use mobile phones, and this will affect their development. This is a negative development because toddlers will become addicted. Possibility 2. Some parents allow toddlers to use mobile phones to keep them entertained. This is a positive development because toddlers can use educational apps. Possibility 3. Some parents allow toddlers to use mobile phones to keep them entertained. This is a negative development because it causes permanent eye damage. So let's go through them one by one. So there's 3 possibilities. 2 of them are completely wrong, and I'll explain why they're wrong. Okay. But I would like you to tell me which one. We'll go through them. So think this one is correct or not correct.
In the question it says, why is this the case? And is it a positive or negative development? So I'm trying to answer according to that. And I think this is the correct one.
Why?
Because I do believe it's a negative development.
Okay. So let's take each question. So there's 2 different questions. Why is this the case? It is irresponsible of parents to allow toddlers to use mobile phones, and this will affect their development. Does that say why this is the case?
It doesn't.
So is it a good idea?
No.
Okay. It's not actually answering the question. So what it is asking you to do, your job in IELTS Writing Task 2, your number 1 job is to answer the question. That one just doesn't answer the question at all. So let's move on to possibility 2. Does this answer the question? Some parents allow toddlers to use mobile phones to keep them entertained. Is that a reason?
I think so.
Yeah? Yeah. This is a positive development because toddlers can use educational apps. Is this okay?
I think it's subjective. Depends on what people believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at possibility 3. Some parents allow toddlers to use mobile phones to keep them entertained. That's the same thing. All right. So then it's really the difference between this one and this one. This is a negative development because it causes permanent eye damage.
I don't think it causes permanent eye damage.
Good. Okay. So this is an example of something that many people believe. But remember, we have to, in an essay, we have to explain it and we have to give an example. So it would be quite difficult to explain how, unless you're a doctor, unless you're an expert on the eye and how it interacts with screens. It would be very difficult for you to actually prove that. And it would be difficult to think of an example. So this one is the best one. This one, because it answers the question. This one, many people would disagree with you, but is it a test of whether I disagree with you or agree with you? No. It's a test of whether you can answer the question and whether you can explain it and give an example. The reason why I put this one in here is because a lot of people worry about keeping the examiner happy, or what would the examiner agree with. The examiner doesn't have to agree with you at all. The examiner can completely disagree with that position, but the examiner can't say that this is an unreasonable position. Some people do believe that it is positive, and you can use educational apps to improve toddlers in different ways. So this is the best answer. Did you get that correct at home? So there's basically 4 things that you need to worry about when it comes to IELTS Writing Task 2. Number 1, did you answer the question? Are your ideas solid? Do you actually answer the question in the essay? 3rd and 4th thing are vocabulary and grammar. We'll talk about that later. The 2nd thing is structure. How do you structure your answer? How do you lay your answer out on the page? I'm going to show you 3 different structures, and you're going to pick the correct one.
Okay.
Let's go back to the question. Why is this the case? So you need to use a structure that clearly explains why this is, and is this a positive or negative development? You need to do that as well. So let's look at the first structure. This first structure has 4 paragraphs. An introduction, a main body paragraph, another main body paragraph, and a conclusion. Just have a look at what they do in there. Next one.
Okay.
And then the next one. So this has more paragraphs.
That's a bit tricky. I'll go with the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at the ones that you didn't think were correct. Why did you think this one wasn't correct?
Because I believe in the second structure, we can answer both questions. Why is this the case and why is this positive or negative? And we can also explain why we think that is.
And this one, state how the problem can be solved. Does it ask you how the problem can be solved in the question? Good.
No.
Okay. This one is wrong because in general, the structure is okay, but it doesn't actually do the right thing. So structures help you part of the way, but you need to think about what you're doing at the same time. A lot of people will memorize structures that they find in books or on the internet, and then they will populate those structures with ideas that don't make any sense. You need both. You need your ideas to be solid, and you need your structure to be solid. So let's look at this one. Why not this one?
Because it doesn't answer the question number 2.
Good. So you're right, and there's one thing that you're missing. This one is a lot longer. So it's saying why it is positive and why it is negative. Then it is giving your opinion. You probably would say your opinion in the conclusion, so probably would answer the question. It's not guaranteed that you would do that. It's probably better that you do answer the question in the main body. You don't leave it until the conclusion. We would call that a surprise conclusion. It's like you're not telling the examiner what's happening until the very end. But big problem with this one is you will only have 40 minutes on test day, and that's going to be way too long because it is a balance between quantity and quality. If you just write as much as you know about the topic and include as much detail as possible, the quality might be lacking there.
True.
So you need to balance that out a little bit. So this structure does a few different things. Number 1, it answers both questions. Answer question 1, answer question 2. Writing is basically taking things out of your head and putting it on paper. What the examiner is thinking is, did she take what she thinks about the question out of her brain and put it clearly on paper? This structure forces you to do that.
Okay.
So we're forcing you to do the thing that the examiner is looking for. We're kind of taking the thinking out of it for you a little bit by forcing you to do the right things. The other thing is that it's this balance of quality and quantity in terms of time. This will be between 260 to 300 words, and it's quite easy to write that amount in 40 minutes. So now that we have our ideas and we have our overall paragraph structure, we now need to write our introduction. I hope you're enjoying this video on IELTS writing. If you want to improve your IELTS writing even more, I've developed a free course called IELTS Essay Builder. What IELTS Essay Builder does is it gives you a free course that structures everything from your introduction to your main body paragraphs to your conclusions. It shows you step-by-step, sentence-by-sentence, how to write everything that you're learning here. To sign up for that for free, all you have to do is just click the link in the description. Thanks very much, and let's get back to the video. So what we're going to do now is go sentence by sentence. What should we include in the introduction? Don't worry, we'll start writing very soon. So I'm going to give you 3 introductions. 2 of them are wrong, 1 of them is right. And I want you to think about what sentences I've put in these introductions. Would this help you clearly answer the question or not?
Okay.
So here's introduction 1. So paraphrase question means take the question and just write it in different words.
Okay.
And then we answer both questions. Introduction 2 is write a hook to hook the reader in.
Okay.
And then a thesis statement is kind of an academic way of saying what you think about the questions. And then introduction 3, paraphrase the question, state why toddlers use phones. And then discuss 2 opposing, so 3 sentences here.
I think I would go with the introduction 1, the first one.
Why not 2?
I don't think that the examiner wants a hook or a
Why
thesis
not?
statement. He's asking a question and he wants to see if you're going to answer that directly and the quality you're going to provide in that structure. And I don't think a hook is necessary to
He
answer
or
the
she
question.
is getting paid. So he or she doesn't need hooked in.
Exactly,
So
I
a hook
think.
is more for like a story or like a TikTok video or something like
Exactly.
that. You don't need to include it in an academic essay. What is wrong with this one?
The question doesn't ask why toddlers use phones, and hence we won't answer the question. It says, why is this the case? Not why do toddlers use phones.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So why is this the case? It's not really about why toddlers are using phones. It's why parents are letting their toddlers use it. They're toddlers, so they're not really making their own choices, really. It's, well, hopefully not. Hopefully it's their parents supervising them. The other issue with that is the introduction is not where we would discuss opposing views. That is more detail. You put the detail in the main body. What we do here in introduction 1 is we paraphrase the question. That shows the examiner that we've understood the question, because you can't paraphrase something if you don't understand it. And then we answer both questions briefly. We say, here's the answer to question 1, here's the answer to question 2. What that does is it tells the examiner she has understood the question and her ideas are relevant and are good and are answering the questions. You should be able to cut out your introduction and show it to your brother who has never seen the question before, and your brother should be able to read it and go, I understand what she thinks about this. So the next stage is paraphrasing. We are going to give you the question. I give you this pen, and you're going to write the question on the paper. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes to paraphrase it. So just to repeat what paraphrasing means, you write it again in different words, but it means the same thing. For example, man, male, those are synonyms, they mean the same thing.
I wrote, kids nowadays overuse mobile phones every single day.
So I'm going to highlight some issues here. First, what issue might we have with this? So compare the word kids with the word toddlers. Do they mean the same thing?
I believe toddlers are younger. Kids can be older.
So toddlers are a very specific subgroup of children, of kids. Toddlers are not babies. They're older than babies. So generally, it differs from kid to kid, but it's generally from like 2 to 3. So by saying kids, you're including Tom, who's 10. But the important thing is that it changes the meaning of the question. So you need to be thinking really about being specific. Do you know any other way of saying toddlers?
They're not exactly newborn, so...
No. So imagine I'm this alien. The baby being carried around and can't walk and can't talk. Is that the same as the toddler? Is there any difference in age between them?
They're 2 to 3 years old.
Okay, so what? Can
we could write that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kids between the ages of 2 to 3 years old. So 2 things you could do there. First, you could have just repeated the word toddlers, because on test day, remember that you will only have 40 minutes. So you don't want to be sitting there going like, oh, what do I do? How do I change this? I can't. And this is the beginning of the test. You don't want the beginning of the test to be you freaking out, going like, I'm running out of time. One, you could have just said toddlers, or you could describe it, kids between the ages of approximately or around 2 to 3 years old. Let's stick with that one. So you've repeated mobile phones. Can you think of another way of saying...
Gadgets?
Think about these words you're using as like buckets, where everything is... So in the gadget bucket, what is in the gadget bucket?
A lot of things.
Everything on this table, all these cameras are gadgets. You could say a Tesla is a gadget. You know,
Yes, true.
Let's reduce the size of the bucket by being more specific. So we could use something like mobiles.
Mobiles, okay.
We could use the American way, cell phones. Probably not telephones, but we could use phones.
Phones, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So kids between the ages of 2 or 3 years old nowadays use mobiles or use phones for hours each day. Every single day, that could be 1 second. I could use my mobile phone for 1 second each day.
I wrote overuse, so does that make a difference?
Again, it's a little bit too vague. So your problem is that, again, the size of the buckets are massive compared to what you're actually trying to describe. So let's rewrite it a little bit. It's a little bit simpler. Toddlers use phones for an extended period of time on a daily basis. You can see that someone like you who, band 9 level speaking, great vocabulary, great grammar, but by starting your essay off in this way, you've completely changed the meaning. So what you're telling the examiner with this one is, I don't really understand the meaning of toddler. My vocabulary isn't very good, and I don't know how to change mobile phones. That is why you're getting a low score. Not just this reason, but just your opening sentence tells the examiner you don't deserve one of the higher scores.
Okay.
Why do you think you had an issue with that? Because I'm telling you a lot of stuff, but what was going through your head when?
I think quick thinking is what I struggled with, because I want to finish the essay and I feel like I have a time limit. And if timing wasn't an issue, maybe I could give it more thought and wouldn't speed up as much.
So two things. One is don't think of any sentence within an essay as getting it out of the way, because every sentence is important. The structure that we're going to teach you, every single sentence has a job, and if it doesn't do that job, it's kind of like a chain. If there's one weak link within the chain, so for example, putting kids in there means the rest of the essay doesn't make any sense, because you're talking about from 0 to 17, 18 years old, whereas this is about toddlers. You've done the test before. This is probably only the second time you've ever paraphrased the question. Like anything, it requires practice. So what I would recommend you do is literally once a week, get 10, 20 questions, paraphrase them, and then show them to me, and then I'll give you feedback on this. And you'll get better and better and better, just like anything.
Okay.
So now we have, toddlers use phones for an extended period of time on a daily basis. I think we need to fix that. Just add in many, so some, many. So it's just changing the meaning of that a little bit. So the next thing we need to do is we need to briefly answer both questions. To thank you for making it this far in the video, I want to give you 10% off our VIP course. The IELTS VIP course is the most successful IELTS course in the world. That is a fact, because we have more Band 7, 8 and 9 success stories than any other IELTS course in the entire world. We do that by simplifying the whole IELTS process, supporting you with some of the best IELTS teachers in the world, and being with you every step of the way until you get the score that you need. All you have to do is just look down in the description, just click that, and you can sign up. If you have any questions about the VIP course, always feel free to get in touch with us. We answer 100% of the questions that we get. Hope that you become a VIP. If not, enjoy the rest of this free video. So remember, what are our two ideas? What I would like you to do is just put them into a sentence. So parents nowadays want to keep their toddlers entertained. This could be a positive thing, because toddlers can use it to access educational apps. Perfect, great. This will be our introduction. I would maybe just put this is because, just making it very clear to the examiner, this is why. So this is because parents nowadays want to keep their toddlers entertained, and this could be a positive thing because toddlers can use it to access educational apps. When the examiner reads this, they know a few things. Number one, they know she's understood the question. Number two, she's answered both questions clearly. Her grammar is great. Her vocabulary is great. She's doing really, really well. Now we can move on to the rest of the essay, which will be the main body paragraph. So the main body paragraph has a few things in it. It has our topic sentence. It has our explanation, and it has our example. So this in general is just a good way of communicating through writing. Is topic sentence is what is the main idea. Explanation is reason. What is the reason why you think that is true? And then example, another way to think about this is evidence. What is the evidence to support what you are trying to say? So the good thing about this structure is we can actually use our introduction here to populate our structure in our main body.
Okay.
So our idea, what's the first idea in this introduction?
It's about entertainment and how they can keep their toddlers entertained.
Yeah. So all we need to do is just look up at our introduction, look for the first main idea, and that will give us our topic sentence. Parents nowadays want to keep their toddlers entertained. All we have to do is just state this again, but using different words again. So paraphrasing again. So how might we be able to do that? Let me show you 3 examples, and you tell me which ones you think. This one. Contemporary parental figures frequently resort to mobile technological devices as a mechanism for facilitating their offspring's temporal engagement and psychological contentment. This one, parents give toddlers phones because they enjoy playing with them. Let's look at the third one. Parents use phones to entertain their toddlers.
So I think the first one is too complex, and the second one, I'll check it.
So the first one, definitely too complicated. If you try and do something like this on test day, number one, you're going to run out of time for two reasons. It takes a long time to think about this. Number two, it takes a long time to write it. But the other big issue is it's so complicated, the grammatical structures, the vocabulary, you will make more mistakes than you normally would. So don't do that. Let's look at the difference between topic sentence number 2. Parents give toddlers phones because they enjoy playing with them. What's the difference between that sentence and that sentence?
I feel like this is the closest to what we came up with, which was parents use the phones to keep their toddlers entertained.
So the problem with topic sentence number 2 is this sentence is basically saying toddlers enjoy playing with mobile phones, therefore parents are like, oh, you enjoy doing this? Let's entertain you. That's not what the question is about, and that's not what our idea was about. Our idea was about parents use phones to keep them entertained, to keep them occupied. The English phrase to keep someone entertained is not really about entertaining them. It is about keeping them occupied. And specifically when we use it in the context of using it for children. So you need to be very careful about that. So we'll put that topic sentence in there. So we now have our topic sentence. We need to write in an explanation.
Okay.
I want you to imagine you're talking to Tom, and Tom says, why does my mummy give my little brother the phone all the time? All right. How would you explain it to him?
Mom gives William the phone because usually she can't find the time to do necessary tasks that she has to complete because she's consumed by taking care of William. So when she gives William the phone, he remains occupied and she can find the time to do whatever it is that she has to finish.
Perfect. So you're a perfect example of a Band 9 speaking student who gets 6.5 in writing. When I ask you to talk about something, you do it perfectly. My wife is exactly the same. She got a really high score in speaking and a really low score in writing before I put her through our VIP course, and then she got a really high score. Wow. We taught her this. But what you need to do in the test is imagine me asking you these questions in your head. So imagine me saying, like, if you were to explain this to a 10-year-old, how would you do that? Don't sit in the test room going, well, Chris, like, you know, but in your head.
That would be crazy.
Do it first.
Yes.
And then, okay, put that in writing. Just write what you said down here.
Okay.
This is because parents can't find the time to finish their tasks because they're
consumed.
They are consumed with looking after their toddlers. That is why they give them mobile phones to keep them occupied so they can finish whatever it is that they need to do. So child in this, we've already set the context that we're talking about toddlers. So we can now talking about kids, child, children. This is good. If you explain this to Tom, who's 10 years old, would he understand?
Yes,
I think he would. Would he have follow-up questions?
Or maybe not.
I don't think he would. If you are writing an explanation and you're like, but I might need to explain this, or he might have this follow-up question, or he might have that follow-up, then you need to extend it a little bit more. The difference between writing and speaking is speaking, if you're talking to another human being, they can say, what do you mean by that? Can you explain that more? I have a question about that. But when you're writing an essay, the examiner can't text you later on that day and say, like, what do you mean by that? You know, we need to put everything that we need on the page. I think this is okay. I don't think that we need to extend this much. I think we just need to add in a little bit of an example here. But an example, can you think of a real thing from your life?
For example, let's say I'm talking to Tom. And I have to explain to him. So I would say that imagine mom has to cook, but she can't because she's taking care of William, and she has to give him all the attention. because of that, like she would rather give the phone so he's occupied, and then she can cook and finish up and then get back to William.
Excellent. That's an excellent example because you've used a concrete thing, concrete example of cooking. A good technique for all examples is think about something from your personal life. In my family, it would be my wife. So when my wife needs to cook dinner, she will give William YouTube and he will watch YouTube for 30 minutes while she cooks dinner. I would extend that a little bit and just say so what is my wife? My wife is a parent. Many parents need to keep their children occupied and that's what they do. So you're taking something personal from your life and making it a more general example. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Add that in?
Okay.
Many parents need to cook meals for their families, which requires time and attention, comma, and that is why they give phones to their toddler to keep them occupied so they can finish up without interruptions or distractions. Very good. Now we're going to write the second
Okay.
without any help, okay?
Oh.
So always be thinking of the question, is this a positive or negative development? And then go back to your introduction. In your introduction, you said this was positive because of educational apps, it helps the children. So now write your second main body paragraph answering this question, topic sentence, explanation, example, I'll leave you alone. So this can be positive because while the child is occupied, he or she is also learning something that interests them and helps in their development. For example, they can access to educational apps which have lessons and topics directed towards toddlers. Learning and toddlers can use this to learn objects or colors or different types of food and much more. Hence, this can be a positive development for the child. Very, very good. Some little grammatical issues in there. We'll talk about that in a second, but overall this is very good. I like the way that you used specific examples of apps. Like you don't have to know the name of the app if you can, that's great, but you used the example of exactly what they're learning, objects, colors, different types of food, and then say, so this could be a positive development for the child. A little bit of repetition in there. Try and avoid repeating the same thing when you're using examples. So you could say, hence, so there you're explaining like it's not a waste of time. I'm an argumentative type of person, so I always think about what the other person would say. So the other person would be like, this is not positive at all, they're wasting their time. And I'm like, no, they're not wasting their time. They're actually getting an education, whether mom cooks them or their dad cooks them food. Everyone has at least one area of grammar that they need help with. You will have this thing where you just put commas in and then you just keep going.
Yes, I do that a lot.
So the good thing about using these structures is once you finish your topic sentence, full stop. This is because, explanation. Explain your thing, full stop, for example, or for instance. Because you're going to lose marks for punctuation, capital letters, things like that. For a band 9, which you should be able to get, you can't have what we would call systematic errors. So this is every time you use that system, which is punctuation, you basically make that mistake every single time. The tricky thing about systematic errors is you're totally unaware of them most of the time. So this is why a lot of people who might be like you get a band 9 in speaking and then they go and do the writing test and they get 6.5 and it's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with my writing, and then someone looks at it and go, well, every time you don't know how to use punctuation,
and that can significantly affect the mark.
Massively. For example, a lot of Russian and Ukrainian students don't use the words a or the. Like I go to shop. I go to, they don't, because they don't have those in their native language. So it depends where you're from and it depends on your education. The good news is that is such an easy fix, such an easy fix. That's why structures and learning that are so important. So now we're going to do our conclusion. A little trick that you can use for conclusions is just put in conclusion, then look at your introduction. Parents nowadays want to keep their toddlers entertained, and this could be a positive thing because toddlers can use it to access educational apps. You just basically take that and you put it in your conclusion, and you're just basically saying that again, paraphrasing again. I know it's difficult to have to paraphrase so many times, but to get a band 9, we need to do band 9 things. Again, if you don't know how to do that, imagine you're talking to me. How would you say this while speaking to me? Parents nowadays prefer giving mobile phones to their child to keep them occupied, and it can be a good thing because it can also help the child's development positively through learning and educating themselves. Very, very good. So there's 3 things that we need to do now. So one would be we need to make sure that we wrote at least 250 words. We counted the number of words. It's over 250, but you were just over it. On test day, we'd want to make sure that we are above that. What I would do is when you are practicing, get the official writing paper and see what 100 of your words looks like in your handwriting, and then you can just guess it. Or just through practicing different types of essays, you will be able to, by counting the words after, understand, okay, for this type of essay, I'm always under a little bit, but I don't think you'll have a problem with that. The other 2 things, and this is where I would like the comment section to help, I will post this exact essay in the description, and what you need to do on test day are the 2 most important things. Is 1, fix any grammatical errors. So once you finish your essay, you will go back and you will find all the little errors and you'll fix them. The most important thing that you need to identify, and this is what I would like you guys to identify, are there any systematic errors? Are there any common errors that keep coming up again and again and again? We've kind of done your job for you, identifying the punctuation issue, but is there anything else? But once you understand that you do have that issue, number 1, you can work on that issue before the test so that you turn a weakness into a strength. But number 2, on test day, you are identifying that and fixing it quite easily. Then the second thing is, are there any vocabulary issues? Don't think there are many issues with meaning, but is there any repetition? Can you take some words that you repeated multiple times, maybe vary that with using a synonym? Or are there any words that are easily converted from a lower level word into a higher level word, but only if it is 100% sure that you can do that? Don't cheat at home and put it into ChatGPT or look it up in a dictionary. Do it for real if you want to do it. Like, actually look at it and think about it as if you were in a test. How would you improve things? But on test day, that's what you'd be doing. If you can do all those things, you will get a very, very high score on test day. Any questions?
No, I'm very satisfied. Thank you.
What did you learn? What were the key things that you learned?
A lot of things. For starters, I learned that I put commas and just keep going, and that's something I need to stop, and I need to work on my punctuations and grammar. Again, I learned that there are so many ways that you can answer a question just if you structure them and provide idea, reasoning, and evidence. And if you can think that you're speaking to someone, it helps a lot while writing it down. Because in your mind, the conversation is ongoing, and it's like you have overflow of words, which you normally might have a block and you might not have those words. So it's very helpful to go with the structure.
Excellent. Yeah. Well done.